Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, Black Butterfly. See, there's a chat right there. You can see what
Okay.
people are saying. Hey, Black Butterfly, how are you doing this afternoon? And then, yep, just click that live chat, and that way we can see what people are saying right here. There you go.
That's weird.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in today. We are going to have a segment today on, like the title says, a domestic violence and stalking. And the reason why I'm doing this segment, just to let some of you guys know, I didn't tell my story on here before, but I wanted you guys to hear it from another person because Domestic Violence Month is in October. So what I plan to do is to interview someone once a month leading up to October so that we can get a jump start on Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I have with me here Tasha,
Hello.
who is a survivor of domestic violence and stalking. And she is going to tell you her story of what she went through and how she survived it, how she got out of the situation, and what the end results was. And then after that, we're going to take questions. I'm going to have the phone lines open. So if anybody wants to call in and ask questions or ask her anything, you know, feel free to do that. So that's how this interview is going to go today. You're great, but it is really hot in Philly. Oh, it's what is it today?
It's
Like
90 plus.
95. It's like it's almost 100 here, but it feels like 105 with the heat index. So yeah, so it's really hot here too. It's really hot. But anyway, if you want to introduce yourself and just
Okay. Hello, my name is Tasha, and I'm going to speak on my experience of domestic violence and stalking. Um, it was a very short amount of time, span of about 3 months, so I'm going to condense it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them as I go along. For the sake of some family members, I'm going to cut out a lot of the gory details of it. Just give you the synopsis of what happened to me and how I got through it. Um, I ran into an old childhood friend. We've known each other since grade school, um, high school. Didn't connect again until young adult, at a football game. He was a coach for a youth team. So we were talking and decided to meet up and just have lunch or just hang out. I invited him over to my house, which I normally do instead of going out in public. At that time, just decided to get to know him a little better and hang out. It's not something that I normally do. Um, Most of this leading up to the events was totally not in my character, not things that I would do, but I invited him over. One thing led to another. He started to come over more. The visits increased more than what I necessarily wanted them to. By the time I started mentioning, like, man, I gotta go to work, you're over here a little too much, that's when you can see the anger or just him being rude and saying things that normal people wouldn't say in the beginning. So again, I just looked over it, let it go. It would be times where we would be gone from the house and I would come home and he's sitting on the porch. Okay, at that point,
just there, just waiting.
just there waiting. At that point, we're still on good terms, so I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
Um,
You're just thinking he's anxious to see you, spend time with you, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going into a month of this, his behavior started to increase. He started to get more aggressive, angry, telling me what I should and shouldn't wear, telling my kids what they could and couldn't do, who I could have at my house.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And
So
about how long into the relationship was that for him to be trying to tell the kids? What?
that was 1 month.
1 month.
1
Yeah,
month.
you did this 1 month. Wow.
1 month.
And he's already trying to play daddy.
Right.
Mm.
So at that point, I'm very protective with when it comes to my kids. So that did not sit well with me. Um, we had a discussion about that. He went into the, oh, I'll change, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, fine. We need to back off a little bit. You need to stop coming over here the most. Um, he agreed to that. By month 2, by then I'm just not comfortable with the whole interaction with him.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't have any feelings for him. It was just something to do at the time.
Yeah.
And again, totally out of my character of what I was doing. Reality set in, and it's not something I wanted. So
Right.
by the time I tried to end the relationship in month 2, he had already gone through my personal items, which I had not known this at the time.
Like your, what kind of personal
personal items, like we met at the gym.
Uh-huh.
I had a gym bag with all of
Okay.
like my ID that I would just transfer from my bag to my purse.
Mm-hmm.
It came up missing.
Oh.
Checkbooks, the extra checkbooks that
You
I
had
had put
stolen?
away, he took them. All things that you don't normally check for on a daily basis because
Yeah.
you know
You
who you
not
have in
missing
your
on-
house.
yeah.
Right.
You wouldn't think you missing the check for your checkbook, just
Right.
off the, rim. Okay.
He would be at the house with my sister and my kids.
Mm-hmm.
He was having full conversations with them about me, and they would
Wow.
divulge things to him, unknowing why he's asking these questions or what was going on.
Now you would be at the home as well?
No,
at
I
the-
would be at work.
Okay, so your sister and them would come over, and just sit and chill and talk to him?
They would sit around and discuss my personal business with him. Again, things I wouldn't normally tell someone.
Right.
Um,
So was he like really like one of those suave kind of guys that kind of could get people to open up and just do things
going
they want them to do?
going into it, I hadn't realized that he
Conniving.
was talking to people at my church,
Mm-hmm.
people in my neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
and people at my job.
Mm-hmm.
He was often calling my job multiple times a day. Like I worked in a doctor's office. I wouldn't be able to bring people back or conduct my daily functions because he would interrupt with calls or just show up at work.
Wow. Yeah, you did work at a doctor's office. I remember that time. Yeah.
So by the time I had definitely cut everything off, you cannot come around here anymore. I'm done with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's when things started to unravel. He was constantly showing up at my house.
Mm-hmm.
He would be in my house, and we weren't there, and I would have no way of knowing unless
So how was he getting in? Did he have?
he worked for a window company. So he knew how to remove the window from the frame and get in
He went so far as to remove the whole window
the window.
to get in the house.
Mhm. Or he'd bust my window downstairs in the basement, cover it up. You know, there's curtains down there.
So you wouldn't even know it was open. Wow.
He stole my daughter's key and made a copy of it, so he had a key to get in and out. He would be up in my attic or downstairs in my basement in a closet or even in my bedroom closet.
And you didn't even know?
No. All this time.
So would he like call you from? Because this reminds me of like a movie that I've seen where a stalker would be in the house and be actually like calling the person they're stalking from the house. Did he do things like that?
He
or
did. He would say, "Who's at your house?" I'm like, "What do you mean? There's nobody at my house." Not knowing he's downstairs or in the attic or whatever. He also had an aunt that lived a block behind me, so from her backyard she could see, or he could see my house,
Oh wow.
which gave him quick access to.
So he know
get
like
there.
when you were there, when you were gone. Oh wow.
I would change up my schedule, and I took the trash out 3:00 in the morning. And I would always keep my cell phone on me because you never
Just
know
in
when he was
case.
going to pop up. And he called and was like, "I know exactly what you got on," described in detail what I had on.
And this would be like at 3 a.m. in the morning.
But at that time, he's either looking at me from the bush or from the fence in the backyard.
Oh wow.
Him coming to my job or, you know, stalking me was one thing, but he tried to get my son out of school. He called up to the school and said, I'm his stepdad, I'm coming to get him. And that alerted the front desk staff, which I'm so thankful for.
Thankful that, yeah, because it could have easily went a total direction, because sometimes they don't double check to make sure, you know.
Yeah.
It's happened before.
Yeah. And like she said, I know how you are with your kids. I've never seen anyone else pick them up but you, male wise, besides my dad. So I wanted to just check with you. I'm like, no, please do not let my son leave with him. So that started the trickle effect. My son was getting off the bus one day. He tried to grab him from getting off the bus, walking home. And my son had the withal to run the opposite direction.
And what was he planning to do?
If he had my son, my youngest, he knew that would get me.
To come see him or get off of work or
just
to make you
with him.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
He's gone up to my daughter's high school a few times, but it's high school. You really can't do anything at a high school because there's so many security guards.
Yeah, all the police and
and you know the kids are older and they know what's going on.
Right. Now, did you sit down and talk to your kids before this? Before he even started coming to the school, like to give them a heads up, or was it after he first went to the school? Okay.
It was after, because honestly, I thought you're just jealous, you're being crazy, and you
didn't think it was some kind of
right
mental thing at that point.
And anything that you did, you were going to take it out on me, not my kids.
Right.
After that point, we had to develop a safe word. We had to develop alternate routes. We had to speak to people in our neighborhood. So if things were happening, you know, to go here. I would always tell them to split up. Right.
And go separate directions. Okay.
It got to the point where every day there was an occurrence. My neighbors were walking right across the street from me. One of my older neighbors, military, very protective, was walking around the house at night.
So your neighbors knew what was going on, and they would watch your house and the windows and entrances and stuff like that for you? That was nice.
Those were the neighbors in front on that block.
Okay.
But behind, where he was coming in through the windows or, you know, had the key to unlock the door, that was the issue.
Right. Okay.
One particular time I came to the house, there would be many nights where I would drive around in the car all night and my kids would sleep in the car. We would go to hotels. I was trying not to get family members involved because
you didn't want your problem to be somebody else's problem. Okay.
And at this point, who knows what he's capable of.
Right.
Where we would just go home, change, go do our thing. I picked him up and repeat the next day. I was running out of money because
all the
who can
hotel
afford
fees.
a
Yeah,
hotel,
that's expensive,
you know,
after a while.
and a single parent. So we were driving around one day. He noticed that I was driving around, wasn't coming home. He told me that if you don't go home, I'm going to call the police and tell them that you're going to commit suicide. Like you were trying to kill yourself and your kids. So knowing what that outcome would be, and
because that might bring in CPS and have you in the system when all you're trying to do is stay away from him. Right.
Their certifications and licensures I would lose, you know. That's my livelihood to provide for my family. So I went home, would barricade the house. He was already in the house. So we slept there. Nothing happened that particular night.
And didn't even know he was there. While y'all putting stuff up against the doors and windows,
we're barricading ourselves in with him. Yeah, unknowingly. I'll skip over a few things. I eventually had my teenage daughter, to move out of the house because at that point he did rape me. That was the first time he had raped me.
Oh, wow. And And that was when y'all barricaded yourselves in the house. That was the point.
No, this was after that.
Okay, so a few things happened before that you just don't want to go into detail, because Okay, I understand. And so he did
the first one, yes. And that's when he told me, this isn't rape because I've had sex with you before. This isn't rape.
And that's one thing a lot of guys, married or dating, will tell their victim. Yeah. We do this on a regular basis, so it's nothing different.
Right. But at the time that he did that, he had ripped my shorts off of me. And we went to the gym, so we were pretty physically active at that time. There was a fight involved where I'm trying to push him off,
Now, was this around the time that I had met you? Because we used to, just so y'all know, we go back a ways, and we used to work out together. We used to walk together, like, 5 miles a day. This is, we used to walk together. We danced on the same, the hip hop line dance team that I'm on, that I posted videos of before. So we go way back. So around that time, that was around the time that I had met you at the gym.
And I actually stopped going as much as I did because, again, he was following me everywhere.
And I remembered that I would look around and be like, and our friends, and because we had a walking group. We had a walking group. And people would ask, where's Tosh? She's always here. Where's Tosh? She's, so yeah, people were asking, and I'm like, I don't know, I guess she can't. And I do remember times you would hit me up and be like, I can't make it, or, I'll meet you guys the next,
or I would meet you somewhere.
Right, meet us like halfway on the route.
Car, right around. I could drop my kids
I didn't even know
there.
all that then. I was just like, oh, she'll meet us at the end of our location and walk back with us,
But again, that was my way of thinking. I could take care of it and not get other people involved. When in hindsight, I know now if I had spoke up, I would have had more people around me to help me out of that situation.
Right.
But he took the clothes that he ripped off of me that day. So I'm thinking, how can I prove that he did this to me?
Right.
He's right. We had sex before.
And he took everything, your underclothes, your shorts, everything.
So fast forward, skipping over a few other details. But within this time, he has stolen all of my clothes. He had a female that resembled me to go get an ID saying she was me. He had opened up.
And she managed to get the ID?
There is
in
footage.
Your name.
There's footage of her shopping, racking up all credit debt.
So she got a fake ID saying she was you, and then got credit cards also in your name. And you obviously had some kind of good credit for her to be able to get credit cards.
He had checking accounts from that checkbook that I had. And I didn't put all this together until I went to the grocery store and tried to write a check for groceries. And they were like, we can't accept your check. And actually went to multiple stores in my area, and nobody would take my checks, nor would my card didn't work.
Wow.
So I'm like, what is going on? By this time, the bank's closed. Nothing I can do until the next day. I went to Nebraska Furniture Mart to look for a stun gun or something. And right when I walked in, I was like, okay, I'm not going to ask where's stun guns. That's kind of suspect. So I'm walking around, and then I notice these men are following me. Like, okay, I'm not stealing anything. I don't do stuff like that. And I go down, let me look at the furniture. I'm killing time until my kids are out of their practices and I can go pick them up. I'm looking at videotapes and furniture, and a lady comes up to me and said, we need to speak with you right now. I'm like, what? Okay. I go to the back. They show me footage of this girl who had taken on my identity.
And she looked just like you.
Now, I was very sleep deprived. I was working off of, a good day would be 4 to 5 hours of sleep. 5 hours interrupted, but 4 hours would be a good amount of sleep for me. Because he
very
would,
stressful.
He would knock things over, bust my lawn table or my deck table, just
trying to scare you.
It was
trying
always
to,
something. I had to patrol to make sure we would be safe sleeping. So when they showed me the footage, and they were like, here's your signature, here's this, here's that, and I'm like, that is not me. But she had on my clothes.
Because he had stole all your clothes.
The only way I knew that, because of the footage, how far away it was, the only way I could say that wasn't me, her body type, everything was like me, but she had braids. I've always had short hair.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's not me. I had a friend that moved into a duplex that I lived in, which was my old address. He had mail coming there. That's how I found out he had multiple credit cards, and they were doing all this other stuff in my name because he used an old address.
Okay.
So everything started hitting me all at once with that. At this time, I was out of money, didn't want to keep getting my family and friends involved, and honestly, a lot of people didn't believe me because he had, again, contacted them and discussed things that I had no idea he was doing, making it seem like it was me.
He was a con man. He was a con artist. And they have their way with people to make them believe what they want them to believe. Yeah.
He was a very good athlete here in town, so a lot of people took to him because of that.
Right.
And
famous, popular, things like that. Why did he need to stalk somebody? Why did he need to, you know, one of those type of situations?
So, I'm sorry, I forgot where I was.
Oh, you said he was contacting people?
Oh, yes, he was contacting people. So I couldn't go to them and say, this guy is tormenting us, you know, what can I do? I was ashamed to say that I was raped by him.
Yeah.
So we had to stay at the house. There was no other place that we could go and stay. Again, we would barricade everything. There was a few times where we would get home before he got to the house. He pushed the door open. He busted out. I had to replace the frame of my front door 3 separate times.
Wow.
Finally, when he busted out the window, I heard it and I knew that it was broken. My dad and stuff had to come over and board that up. It just was one thing after another.
Now, at this time, you were renting, right?
No, I owned the home.
You were owning. Okay, that's the home I remembered in the home that you own.
Yeah.
So basically, you were responsible for everything. Okay.
So the credit card stuff, the old address he was using, that was the rental. But where everything happened, it was the home that I had. I was first homeowner. You know. That
something you were proud of, your first house.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Take pride in that. Yeah.
So.
And for him to be destroying it, I know that had to hurt. Yeah.
Because that was for me and my kids, you know.
Your safe haven.
Right. Right. At this point, I totally felt defeated and, you know, just ashamed, embarrassed, everything.
Now, is this the point where, like, when exactly, like, did a lot more stuff lead up to that before the police were involved?
Oh, I was calling the police sometimes 2-3 times a day.
Okay, so the police were
they were aware of everything. He somehow gotten access to my daughter's cell phone. He knew somebody at the cell phone store that would give him access to transfer my daughter's phone number to his phone.
What?
He would send me messages, had me thinking somebody was doing something to her. It's very hard to follow and believe, but
I can't believe somebody actually helped him do that. Like, that is illegal and immoral, and you should be able to be fired or something for something like that. I can't believe that.
They go by codes. So the police couldn't track the code to know exactly who did what for him. So he was manipulating my daughter's phone. He had the key to the house. Even after once I started changing the locks, that's when the breaking the door frame and busting the windows started happening. And I still had no clue that he would even be up in the attic or downstairs in the basement, you know.
Because he worked at a window place, so he was able to get things unhinged and probably put them back together before you got home and hide in the house.
Right.
And he would just be up there in the attic like all night.
We would come home and notice things were out of place. But again, I'm working off of no sleep. I'm trying to maintain my household and my kids. I am delusional at this point. Just thinking things, or I would forget people's names, dates, time. It was really bad. I had to take a week off of work. I completely lost my voice. I had lost so much weight. My hair started falling out. It was crazy. So again,
Very stressful.
I got in touch with a police officer who gave me very bad advice.
Really?
His advice was to keep communication open with him. Talk to him. Maybe he'll calm down.
Wow.
So, okay.
That's what the police told her.
That's what I was told to do, to try that. So I tried talking to him to get him to calm down. I met him at a park. I won't say the park, but I met him at the park. We walked around this park, so you know there's a lot of secluded areas where people would not see you.
Yeah.
I believe if there were not men fishing over there, thinking back on it, something would have happened at that time.
Yeah. Was he real aggressive at that time?
He was until he noticed other people were around. And I was like, I can't reason with you. Get out of my car, we're done talking. You know, I can't believe I even met you here, blah, blah, blah. He started calling the police on me at that time. He started calling pizza delivery, taxis, fire department. Actually, I got a call while I was at work. The fire department was at my house and was about to chop open my door because I was not responding of a report that he had given them.
Oh my goodness.
I had a police standoff in my yard because of what he called and reported. These are all false reports.
Now, what was the standoff about? He
said that I had guns.
Oh my goodness.
And all, yeah. We were driving around trying to stay awake and be away from the house by the airport. At this point, he's following me. Because I was by the airport, he called and told them that I was picking up drugs and guns, and so I had
So he was trying to really get you in trouble with the law, one way or another. Lose your children, your home, your job, all that, just because you didn't want to be with him.
Every law enforcement, drug enforcement, weapons, they were at my house in full force, searching my whole house. And at this time, I'm belligerent, like, what are y'all doing at my house? You know, I would never do anything to where they pulled a gun out on me because I was just that irate. I was so upset. I definitely had to cool down, or it would have turned out really bad.
Oh my God! Wow.
So at that time, I'm still going off of the bad advice that a local police officer had given me.
To keep in contact with him, hoping to calm him down.
Yes. So that led to him showing up at my house. He had come in that day, and I'm like, okay, fine, we'll sit down and talk. Things escalated really quickly. He was talking to something or somebody that was not in the room. He was drinking. He ran bath water and lit all these candles. Like, I try to do nice stuff for you and you don't even want that. I'm like, no, I don't want you. That was a bad thing at that time, because that's when the most violent interaction, rape, happened.
Oh my God! So he did it the second time. That was the second time for this, the rape, the assault.
He had actually not the second time. That was the third.
That was the third time.
He had made food and I wouldn't eat the food. He would throw stuff out of my refrigerator, just losing his mind. But at this time, during that rape, he made me get in the tub. Like, he knew exactly.
He knew what to do and made you clean up. Did he take your clothes again, or?
He didn't touch anything. He made me take it off.
Okay.
He kept telling me he had a gun, and I wouldn't know where it was because he hid it. I had a shed in the backyard. He was like, I can go out there right now and get it.
And besides, he was getting in the house when you weren't even there, so Didn't know where. It could have been under the couch, under the bed,
Right.
under anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, um, that's this is the part where I can't go into specific details because
But it was the worst
it would be
one.
traumatic. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. We don't want you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
So, at that point, I had it. I was fed up. I couldn't tolerate it anymore. I went and got the restraining order, and the judge. I had sat there and listened to him tell two other women no for their restraining order, and he said, talking to me, and just I couldn't even write. You know, I was shaking so bad, and he was like, "I'm gonna grant it. Just sign
wow.
here." And I was like, "Okay, what do I do now?" Like, I didn't know what steps to take, what to do next. He gave me a card to go speak to this detective. Lo and behold, this detective was already working on a case involving him.
Oh wow.
And she was telling me, "Do you know he's doing this to 4 other girls before you?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Hold on. Was he doing it to 4 of the girls before you, or at the same time?
One of those girls, it was at the same time.
Wow. So he was done with 3 of them, and he was on 4, and you were 5. So he was stalking and terrorizing 2 women at the same time, but you were actually the 5th out of all the women so far.
The thing about this, the other girl that he was stalking at the same time as me, she lived probably 3 blocks from me.
Oh.
So this is like
the circumference.
everything's right there accessible to him.
So he can go back and forth to you guys, and oh wow.
I had went to his aunt, his mother, and was like pleading for them to help and get him away from us. Like, I don't want to be bothered with him. Just please keep him away from us. I didn't want anybody to get in trouble or go to jail. I thought that would help.
Yeah.
I found out that he had tied up this girl's son and her.
Oh my goodness.
Held them at knife point. It was a crazy situation with that.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm still not knowing that that's him doing this.
So how did you find this out? Was it something on the news, or was it?
It was on the news.
And you had no idea that
it was
he
him.
was the perp who had did that.
By the time I got involved with law enforcement to, try and rectify this, to get everything to calm down, he had come to my house again. I didn't know he was in the house. We're getting all of our stuff together. He's hiding downstairs in my closet. I run to the bank. I left my grandmother and my 2 children there.
Oh my God.
I run to the bank because we're getting close. I have money. Let me take it out real quick before something else happens so we can go stay at a hotel. Y'all get y'all stuff together. My daughter calls me. It's like, "Mom, I smell smoke in the house." What do you mean you smell smoke? Cigarette smoke.
Because he smoked cigarettes. Oh wow.
So I call the police. I dash back to the house, and I get there. The police are there. They're searching the house. He jets past the police officer.
Oh my God. So they caught him in the act.
No. They caught him in the act, but remember I said he was a star athlete.
Oh yeah.
He outran them.
Yeah.
He ran to his aunt's house, who lives
Because
a
he
block
used to play
behind me.
football and track, right? Okay, I remember.
So he ran to this aunt's house, and that's where I was able to point that out to him. That's where he was arrested. They let him out the next day, and it was just on after that.
Oh my God. That probably pissed him off even further.
It did.
Yeah.
There was more damage to my house. He just would not stop. So finally I woke up one morning and said, forget it. I went and applied and got approved for an apartment and just immediately started moving things out. I was trying to get the bank to understand that I can't pay you because he's taking all of my money. They basically didn't care. You're a homeowner. Deal with it.
So you had to leave the home you was purchasing to move into an apartment, and they, they're bankers. They, they don't have hearts for that. They don't care. They want their money. So did they end up making you foreclose, or did you have a short sale, or?
I had to foreclose on the house. There was trying to pay for the rent at the apartment, my car, my children's activity,
And the mortgage.
bills. Yeah.
And both of our kids was in sports
Yes.
like their entire life. So I know the activity fees, that's a lot by itself. So, that's a lot.
I just felt like everything was crumbling. I'm getting harassed about these credit things that I did not spend.
From him and the
couldn't
the
prove
girl.
that he spent. I got connected to a lawyer, defense lawyer, and she had spoken to that detective. Come to find out, it was within 5 years, 20 women, and I was like 21, 22.
So 20, you were number 22 out of all the women that he had done this to, terrorized and stalked.
According to the detective, he progressively got worse or got better at the stalking and terroristic threats, things like that. But I was the only one that was willing to go the route of going to court.
Go the extent to, put him in.
We reached out to several of those women. None of them wanted to help me.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
A lot
Just
of them
from
were
what you
scared.
went through, and we don't even know all of their stories. And the one who he put a knife on and tied her and her son up, was she willing?
She did help.
She did help. Okay, that's good.
She
That's
did
good.
help. She would not get her son involved, which I totally understand.
Right. And how old was he?
He was under the age of 12. I can't recall exactly
He
how old
tied
was.
up a little kid.
Under the age of 12.
He probably still. Oh my God.
I found out later that he would hit my son or say things to my son when I wasn't in the room, and just things to
Just
put
because,
fear
just to
in
take
them.
stuff out on you and also make
Right.
them do what he wanted.
Right.
Yeah, he wanted everybody to fear him in the
Right.
house.
Right. Which ultimately ended up working because, again, I had no exposure to that type of situation. So the lawyer researched a lot of things for me. She got a second detective involved. That's when they found out that my credit was being used, and this is why I had no money. The girl that took my identity had gone to Texas and was living as me in Texas.
Oh wow.
She got arrested there because she was in a car accident, and in that accident, a child died. So she got arrested for that.
Somebody else's, the
Somebody
person
else's
she
child
hit.
died.
Oh wow.
There
So did they bring her back
No,
up
she
here,
was still in
or
Texas
she?
because of that death of that child.
Okay,
in
so
that
she had to
accident.
face that first, and then did she ever face stealing your identity and all that?
That came later. By the time they found, I almost said his name. By the time they found him and got him arrested, during this time though, it wasn't just him. He had recruited his cousins, friends, brother to help stalk us. Like if he wasn't available, somebody else would be doing it. My tires got slashed. Something happened to where I could
This
only
guy
go
had
in
a
and
lot of
reverse.
pull.
Yeah.
Like, I remember growing up in the day, and our friends or family might ask me to do something, but stuff like that, stalk people or tear up destroy somebody's property, he must have had. What do you think made people do that kind of stuff for him?
Just a master manipulator. The judge called him Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So he could switch back and forth.
I can see that.
He definitely had people around him who were not, I don't want to say uneducated, or
I know what you're saying.
don't always use the best common sense.
I know what you're saying. Probably some thugs.
Yeah, those two.
And that's what I'm thinking of. Some people who don't care about the consequences. They just want to hook up their homie and do, yeah, I got you, that kind of thing.
I mean, from the items that they purchased from that big store, yeah, I didn't even have that for my kids. They had parties off of everything. It was bad. So because of the amount that was taken, that was another charge. I wasn't able to prove the rape because of the way he went about it.
So he took the clothes a few times, and then sometimes he made you take baths afterwards.
But the phone records that I had, I went through 3 cell phones because he would just call so much that it was burning out the makeup of the phone. I had to change my number multiple times. The amount of telephone reports I had to make to the police, the amount of times the police was actually called, all of that built up a case. There was voice recordings of him saying like he's going to kill my grandmother, he's going to kill me. Coming up to my job, and I worked for a big hospital, so they were complaining about that, and that also added to my list of things that he was doing.
Right.
So once he was arrested, he was making phone calls to these thugs that he had helping him to do these things, telling them what to do. Of course, that's recorded.
Okay.
So by the time this girl got arrested, she's in jail for that. They catch up to her, and now this is another charge for her.
Okay.
She's saying, well, can we drop that and I'll talk? So without that girl that took my identity helping, and the girl that he was stalking at the same time.
Right. The one he tied up, that one.
He has to do over 24 years.
Wow.
In jail without parole before he can
even be eligible to come up to be interviewed for parole. Wow, so 24 years. They gave him 24 years. That's almost 1 year per woman, but since only a few of y'all testified, that's like 8 years for each one of y'all. So that's a lot of time. I think he deserved it. And I think that was, I mean, I'm sure you probably would rather he probably never get out, but.
Well, after he does that 20 plus years, there is, if he gets denied, then he has to do, it's another 10 on to that, 10, 15 on to that. So
that's almost 40 years if he does not get parole.
Right.
Now that is what I'm talking about. That's,
I was extremely.
And by that time, he'd be too old to even, if he'd be lucky if he can even do anything at that age, especially how prison wears you down and fights, and then the reason why he went in there, who knows what's going on with him.
Unfortunately,
up in there.
Before he went to prison, he had connected with another young lady and got her pregnant, so he has a baby. Oh, wow. And there was some manipulation.
Is that his only one?
No, he has 3 other kids that I know of. But this younger lady, the things that he did to her, she was so afraid and intimidated by him and his family that she just was like, I cannot help you. I can't do that.
Yeah, she was fearful because she probably thought, like, in a lot of situations, even if I testify, even if I talk, what if he don't go to jail? What if he only gets a year or 2? What if he comes back or have his family members, retaliate against me? So I understand, I really do. The main reason I put the picture, the thumbnail on this video that I did, which is a woman with a man's mouth around her, and it says tell someone or speak out, is because of that. Because in a lot of situations like this, the guy like that was like number 22, and if any of them were strong enough or willing, he probably wouldn't even got to you.
Right. And that was my whole point of speaking up, so that there wouldn't be anybody after me. I didn't find out about this young lady until we were going to trial. It was like every time I spoken to a detective or we had a court date, it was like, oh, by the way, this happened or he did this. He was sending letters to me that was ultimately intercepted. There was to be no communication with me or the other lady that helped out, and he still was sending letters, had people calling or coming by. The lady that he had the baby with, he had one of his friends go to her door, knock on the door, and say, "Are you so and so?" "Yes, that's me." "Here, he's on the phone. He wants to talk to you." Like, there was supposed to be
people
no
willing
contact.
to go all
Right.
out just for him. This
Right. Found out later that he was manipulating people in jail and taking their, I don't know how they do the phone system there. They use the phone by codes or something. He was using their codes to make phone calls
Oh wow!
so that it wouldn't be connected.
And
to
probably
him.
saying their name or something when they say state your name so the other person on the end know who's calling. Very conniving, very manipulative.
If he would have got less than what he got, I wouldn't still be here. I would have definitely moved.
I would have too.
And
I would have too. And if I remember correctly, I swear I remember a time when you had mentioned a long time ago you thought about moving out of town, but it was like a lot of things because we were friends, you guys, for a while before she even opened up to me and started to tell me little bits and pieces, because I think we had got on in that subject because we just started talking about guys, and I told you my story. We would just bounce stories off of each other, you know, as women and friends do. But when she told me her story, I was like, dang, that makes my story seem like nothing, you know,
but
compared
it was
to
definitely not something to one up.
Right,
you on,
right,
but
right.
If most women don't speak out and say anything about what happened to them unless someone else is willing to open up as well. So then you feel like you have an even deeper connection with that person to open up and speak on it. Otherwise, if he would have left me alone, I would have been content to just not say anything.
Right.
But he didn't. So then, okay, now I gotta help. Now,
you gotta help yourself and your family and your children, because the bottom line is you have to look out for you. And I always, you know, they always tell people we don't know the outcome of what'll happen, whether it's a parent, a boyfriend, a husband, you know, that's abusing you, but the abuse won't stop usually unless you speak out. And sometimes, I mean, we don't even know the results after that, because you know how the results can go. I mean, people come up missing, people come up murdered, you know, kidnapped, disfigured, all that kind of stuff. We don't know the outcome of that, but I think it's always best to tell, and sometimes I'd rather fight just to think about, you know, what I went through and what you went through, and a lot of ladies. I myself, and I'm a fighter, and I'm like, okay, if I go down, I fought my way, you know. Exactly. I just didn't lie down. Exactly. And that's the thing a lot of women have to know is, like, you can't just lie there and keep taking it. Fight. Even if you lose on the end, you went out with a fight. You know what I mean?
Well, I think...
And it's like, go ahead, Josh.
My situation, again, was only a 3-month time span, but I had a plan, like, to get out.
Right.
And not... My main goal was not to involve other people in that situation, because I knew what I was going through. I wouldn't want to get you involved, and then now he's coming to you, bothering you. We had...
also, I wanted to ask you about something else after you that. I just don't want to forget it. But could you tell them about the shelter where you, you know, that too? I didn't want to mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. When I lived in the apartment, my apartment got broken into twice. And that's where all the major damage of my car started to happen.
So he found out where you moved to in the apartment.
Okay. Because as the detective said, this is not a coincidence that you left from this situation and now these same things are happening to you here. And the apartments that I moved into was not a bad area. It's a very good spot. So they found it was a part of the shelter, a homeless shelter. Because at first they wanted to move me and my kids way western Nebraska, where I knew no one.
In the boondocks.
Yes, I knew no one. I would not have been working. it would have ripped me from everything that I knew.
Yeah.
So the shelter had an apartment complex that they built that you had to pay rent. It still was an apartment, but it was on their land.
Mm-hmm.
So I was one of the first tenants to move in there.
Okay.
There was camera surveillance, 24-hour security on hand.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the jail was right behind
Right
it.
behind it.
Yes.
Okay, so, and that was the place downtown.
Right,
yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I agreed to move there because, again, we could not stay in the apartment that we were at because we could wake up one day and someone would be there. So we moved there. At that point, I did start to relax a little bit because they showed me the security system. Like the minute you turn down that street, you're being recorded. You enter the building. You can't enter the building unless you're buzzed in or you have this magnetic card. Right there is the security office or the apartment manager. There were counselors there. It was always some type of activity happening there. Even going to your apartment, you would be recorded down the hallway.
Okay.
So
that was very safe, very secure.
They spoke to the people that managed the property and told them what my specific situation was. So I wouldn't say they watched out for me more than anybody else, but there were certain...
But they were very aware and made sure,
there were programs that me and my children didn't have to participate in because I worked full-time or, you know, whatever the situation was. They would take the kids to school for me. So I didn't have to worry about them standing out on a bus stop or anything like that.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
For them to do that for you, that was really, really nice.
So once you get that connection and you start to tell your story, just take all the help that they're willing to give you because I was a very proud person. I can make my own way. I'm working. I can do this on my own. But to get that help was honestly like a load off my back.
Yeah. And I'm sure it was for your children too, because after dealing with him and they know that he can't get in here, there's security, there's cameras, you need a badge to get in. So I'm sure that made your kids. Right. Yeah. Wow. And now this is public information. The guy who did this to 22 women, who has up to 40 years. Well, he has a 40-year sentence unless he can go up for parole in 24. But if he doesn't get it, you know, he has technically a 40-year sentence, which I'm grateful for, and it didn't even involve me. But because just imagine if she wouldn't have, and the other women weren't going to speak out. She reached out to them to see if they would, you know, back her to try to get him locked up. So if she wouldn't have took that stance, imagine how many other women that he would have, you know, terrorized and attacked. And
the thing about the women is one of them worked for the county. I worked in medical. Another one worked for like the treasurer's office. Like he
was like a career woman seeking guy.
Right.
He liked women that were established, homes, good jobs.
That was the progression that the detective told me about. Like, don't think it's just something about you. It was just his progression of what he was doing. He did tell me several times that he was going to take everything from me. He was going to Kevin Federline me. Do you know who Kevin Federline is?
Yes.
Okay, so he got Britney Spears pregnant and took
all her money, filed alimony, all
So that's what he had planned to do to me. I was like, that is the strangest thing to say to somebody that you're trying to establish a relationship with. Of course, he was not trying to establish a relationship with me. He was trying to get what he could get.
Abuse you, use you, take control. Um, do you know, like, if from his past, like, do you know if he grew up in that type of situation where maybe his father was abusive? Do you know anything about
I have met.
what might have made him that way or helped to mold him into that person?
I've met his father. His father was if I would have shown interest in his dad, I'd probably be with his dad. Or his brother was very aggressive in being in my face and trying to hug me and stuff like that. His mom played the nice role. Oh, it's so nice to have you here, and but the things that he would tell me, that there was a lot of abuse or going without, things that I wasn't exposed to when I was younger.
Okay.
We lived different lives. Even though we were in the same neighborhood, my household was totally different than his.
Okay.
It was more chaotic on his end to where it wasn't for me.
Okay. Okay. And do you want to say who he is?
I would prefer not to say his name.
Okay.
It is public knowledge. After going through the trial and everything, I had a reporter from London contact me and was saying that she wanted to do a special on the ID network. Have you ever watched that?
I always watch that. Yeah, I always watch that.
I thought, yeah, right, this isn't real. I told her I don't have a passport. She immediately sent me the link to fill out the passport and a check in through FedEx to get the passport. And I was like, this can't be real. I said, I don't have money to fly over there. And she was like, it's all expense paid trip for you.
Yeah.
So my boyfriend, now husband, went over to
Yes, she's
London.
married now to a good guy, a very good man.
Very good. He flew over to London with me. Again, I'm thinking this can't be real.
Yeah.
The lady sent me links on other stories that they had done. I go over there, we do it. I had a person that was responsible for driving me, a person that was responsible for getting my food. I had a makeup artist, a stylist. The climate over there for us American black women was not kind, but my hair was like a helmet, but they did their best.
Yeah. Under the circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had wardrobe, whatever. If I said I wanted,
did they have you looking like the old Oprah?
Yes.
With the hair all big and
yes. If I said I wanted a candy bar, I had one particular person that would drive me to get this candy bar, or one person that would go get it for me. That's how protective they were.
Right, and I can understand that they want to make sure, because just because you out of town or just because you overseas, don't how they say everybody is reachable.
Right. Right. We were in England for 7 days.
Okay.
8 days. 8 days. And we got to see the sights. Everything was I can't say perfect, because a lot of it was very traumatic for me, because we had to keep talking about everything, but
I can imagine.
It went through. It's my husband standing over there.
Yeah,
now.
he's smiling at us. So is there anything else you wanted to say regarding that before I see if anybody got questions or?
I would definitely say have a plan before you just decide to up and go. Make sure you have your necessities, what you feel like you need to go. That's your personal items, things for your kids in place. Make sure you have somebody that you can trust and tell as you're planning your exit strategy.
Okay.
And the day you decide to do it, please just do it.
Just don't think about it. Just go. Just get out.
Is that what?
And I was just about to ask you. For the people who are watching, if you know, like, if they know somebody that's getting abused,
Mm-hmm.
they really, really know they're getting abused. Like, what could they do to help? Like, because there's some situations where people is like, they just keep taking it, and people tell them to get out, leave them, and they're, they might be scared or so in love. I mean, what advice would you say as a friend or a loved one watching this display? What would you recommend that they do?
Um, Number one, be that person that they can rely on. If you came to me and said, Tasha, I need to get out of this situation, you know what? I would have your get out bag
Mm-hmm.
at my house.
Mm-hmm.
I would have that hotel registered in my name for you to
Mm-hmm.
get there. I would have all calls coming from the women's shelter or the detectives to come through me.
Mm-hmm.
Be that barrier so
Okay.
that they can get the services they need without putting their life in jeopardy. You don't want anything coming to your house from
Right.
these places with your name on it. And most of the things are very, they think about that. They're very aware of the danger because you could be killed for even trying to leave.
Right.
They have those little tearaway things in the bathrooms, women bathroom, a phone number that you can call. Your doctor's office is a safe haven.
And they always ask you that.
Mhm.
They started like maybe 5 or
Yep.
10 years ago asking you, are you in any kind of situation?
Mhm.
And I always be looking at them like, no.
And they'll ask you if there's a person, a male or someone, even a female, because
Yeah.
they would ask you.
Because women, I mean,
Uh-huh.
with the gay and
Mhm.
lesbian relationships and, things like that, women abuse women
Mhm.
as well.
During one of the interactions I had with him, the pressure that he applied to me gave me a lump in my breast. I didn't connect it that that's what it was from.
Mm-hmm.
And the lump was very visible from the way my uniform fit,
Mm-hmm.
that the doctor was like, hey, let me check that out for you because he knows of my family history of breast
Right.
cancer. And as he was examining me, he's like, "Is everything okay?" Because he could see that it was a bruise. It wasn't
Okay.
just a lump, it's a bruise. I skipped a pelvic exam once because I had a bruise on the side.
And you didn't want them to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're going to ask. And he even offered to have my family to come stay at his house. To this
Okay.
day, we're still very good friends. Just that offer to
Yeah.
extend that help to me
Mm-hmm.
was more than I could ever have asked for. I did not take him up on that because, again, he's a doctor. I didn't want
Right.
to bring, and he had 6
To
kids.
merge the
Right.
patient doctor
Right.
thing. And Amber has a question. She said, did he plan to trap other women with the threat of creating a child? Do you know if that was maybe, did he try to like impregnate you or talk about children?
He did try to get me pregnant several times. Fortunately, I have a tubal ligation, so,
Mm-hmm.
but again, we weren't together long enough for me to even be discussing this with him.
Right.
It wasn't until after things started to fall apart
Right.
that I figured out what his plan was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the young lady he got pregnant after me,
Mm-hmm.
again, he planned that
Okay.
because he feels if he has a baby with you, you won't go anywhere. And
Right.
you'll always be there to take care of the baby.
And for the
him.
next like 18 years plus, you would have to be involved with each
With him,
other's
yeah.
lives. And her other question was, did you and the other women look similar? Like, I know the lady he had steal your identity, she looked like you, but what
Mhm.
about the other lady?
No,
victims?
we were a wide range. The lady that helped me in the situation, she's
Mhm.
probably a lighter shade than I am. She's taller than I am.
Mhm.
Our body facial features, nothing looked alike.
Okay.
But for this particular reason of stealing my financial information, he
Mhm.
needed somebody that looked like me.
Okay. Hey, Miss Naturally Nolans, if anybody else got some questions, Tasha has a few more minutes. to answer a few more questions if anybody else has some questions. And everybody, make sure you share this live out. If you have your own community tab on your YouTube channel, please share this live out for me. I would really appreciate it. Again, we're starting early on domestic violence awareness because it's actually in the month of October. But again, I'm going to do an interview like once a month leading up to October with survivors of domestic violence, because we don't have to wait till October to discuss it. You know, this is something that should be discussed on a routine, basis. And Amber says, so essentially he just went for intelligent and financially comfortable women. It sounds like it, huh?
Yes.
And beautiful.
Yes. He definitely wanted that financial security. There was one lady that was in the military. Yeah. Financial security was definitely a part of that.
Okay. And then one question I wanted to ask was, how did you bounce back? Because you had to give your home back. You had to, all the charges and all the banks and, from the bad credit that them to, how did you bounce back? Did it take you a long time to pay off all your bills, or were some of those things erased because it wasn't you, or?
Some of those things were erased, were forgiven, but a lot of it still remained on my credit because they either didn't believe or didn't take into account that my identity was stolen. To this day, I can't go and vote like normal, like you would go vote. I have to go to a specific location and vote. They have to prove that it's me before I can vote.
Because of the identity theft. It's probably like, so when your like name or social pops up, it has that like in the system, or? So
for the past, except this election, but the past 3, I didn't understand. I didn't know. Okay. So my vote was voided, like tossed out, because I didn't go to that. That's how Trump got in there, because of your vote. It was all my fault. Right. So because of that, it's like I didn't vote for the past 3 elections. But I'm very aware of where I need to go from here on out.
So next time when it's time to vote, you be there front and center with the hubby.
Right.
Vote.
The recovery part was very difficult. I had a very hard time being called a victim or a survivor, because then I would have to admit that I was raped. And that's something I did not want to attach to myself.
Yeah, I understand.
Being black, being female, you already got so many labels. I was a teenage mother. Yeah. So many labels already attached to me. Now I'm a victim. I just didn't want that. So counseling was involved. A lot of time and
for you and the children, or just for you?
For me and the kids, yeah. Okay. Just pulling back from a lot of people and a lot of things. I stopped going to a lot of large public events. Yeah. I was very mean to advances from men. I was mean. I'm saying mean. Yeah. It took my husband a very long time to.
I was going to ask you, how did he sway you after? You don't have to tell personal stuff, but after going through something like that, I can imagine you not trusting men, or being scared, or have a fear or a discomfort. It
got to a point where, he was out. No, I'm sorry, he was in jail, but still was trying to contact me during the court portion of it. Okay, is when I met my husband. I was going to trials and just very bitter and angry that I had to deal with this again. Yeah. I explained to him in very non-specific details of what was going on, and he was absolutely amazing. Very understanding. We were friends, and he came. He approached it as a protector, and was always there if I needed something. Wanted to go to the court trials with me, and I definitely was
kind of be like your shoulder, your comfort, or a friend.
We would go to dinner, go to movies, anything to escape my mind off of what was going on there. He interacted with my family, and we felt safe and comfortable.
Total, complete opposite.
He has military background, so I definitely felt comfortable.
Oh yeah.
That was good.
Know how to take him out. Just that little pinch around the throat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I saw that, or I realized that all men aren't the same.
Right.
And I would
have get that out there.
Yes, I definitely would have been missing out on a lot had I treated him like he did those things to me. So definitely don't do that, because you could be missing out on a lot. Yes. I'm not saying be nice to everybody,
but you could be missing out on your king.
Right.
Ladies. Okay, we got a few more questions. Well, Amber said that's scary. He's exactly where he belongs. And somebody said, what is your overall warning or message to women that are dating?
What is that Maya Angelou saying? Believe people when they show you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That one. He definitely gave me warning signs, which I blew off, because in my mind, we're not in a relationship. You don't even have to come around me. I don't care. But in his mind, we were together. What was mine was his. Mm-hmm. And he was telling people, like, yeah, this is my house. And people were coming by my house. And I didn't know this until after the fact. Or my neighbors would call me and like, there's a carload of people at your house. Mm-hmm. You know, so there were warning signs. Trust your gut. And not everybody is telling you things just to keep you from being happy. Sometimes you got to investigate.
Yeah.
And
like I was saying, I was saying when I was giving like the pre-interview information yesterday, I was telling people that sometimes, well, I still do this, you know, at my age now, if I meet somebody and I find out his name, I'll hit up my friends and my homegirls. And I was asking women, do y'all do that? And some women was like, yeah, I do that. Like, you gotta ask, like, especially with the girl code. Have you ever dated this person? Right. Have you ever anything like that? Because I believe in the girl code. I don't want no leftovers. But not only that, I mean, because if, like, I met somebody before and somebody's like, oh, he's crazy. That man had been to prison. That man, okay, erase his name out my phone. And, you know, you have to ask because you never know. Somebody could know that individual and know that they are not necessarily good for you. So you have to ask.
I got lucky. The detectives that worked with me throughout this process, they were saying, if you ever think about dating anybody else, let us know. We'll look into them. So I gave him my husband's name.
Oh, they checked him out and everything.
They checked him out. Was like, oh no, he's fine. Everything's good.
They said, okay, you're good to go. Yes. You're good to go.
Okay. And it was
nice.
I did tell him that I did that. It wasn't like I'm checking on you or doing anything sneaky. I just have to watch out for me and my kids' safety.
Right.
First and foremost.
Right.
A relationship is not that important.
Right. Exactly.
They are more important. My life is more important than being involved with the man.
Yeah. And that to me is one of the main reasons some women do stay in destructive relationships, because they cannot stand being alone.
Right.
They cannot stand being single and all their girlfriends is out there dating and, you know, married and stuff. They just and sometimes they will put up with stuff that they probably wouldn't normally put up with, but just because they want to have a man.
Right. Or and even the financial situation.
Even, I was going to say finances, whether they paying the bills, the, you know, sexual relationship, just to have somebody there, just to say they got a man.
It's better to start over with that peace of mind than to stay in something that is someone is manipulating you, hurting you physically, mentally, emotionally. Finances is not everything.
Yeah.
Even the richest people are not happy.
Exactly.
So don't ever let finances be the reason you stay with someone like that.
Yeah. You're welcome. Somebody said, thank you so much for sharing. That was nice. You got a lot of good comments are in this chat. I'll have to go back and read all of them.
You can attach the ID thing to
Matter of fact, hold on, let's see. Would it be under like
Latasha?
Would it be under your name? Okay.
or just take out that part and just do Latasha Edwards.
Okay, let me see. Is this it right here?
That's it.
Yep. Okay.
So I think
Okay, that's just the worded, but for the video, we would have to go to
class reunion. Oh,
what do you? You know the exact.
No, I don't know. I have the link. I could.
Yeah, if you can send me the link, and then because it's called ID.
Just take the ID part out.
Oh, just take the ID part out.
Mm-hmm.
Discovery ID. Okay.
Just type in my name.
Okay.
See.
This one right here, Absolute 24-Hour Terror.
That's
That's just the
story,
verb, the
yeah.
written.
I have to send you or unless you look under ID Discovery, but yeah.
I wonder
Go
if
to
it's on
videos.
YouTube.
Go
Yeah,
on
go to videos. That's what I was thinking.
There it is.
Right
Of
here.
mental emotion.
That's the interview after court.
Okay. So that's just the one
This
after
is the
court. This is the
actual-
actual one.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, let me right click on this one. Okay, let's see. Right click. Copy link address. Yeah, so 42 minutes. This the one right here?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, y'all, I'm going to put the link in here to the interview that she did on the TV show ID. It's actually an ID channel.
Discovery.
This ID Discovery Channel, which I'm sure a lot of you probably watched before. I watch that show all the time. I'm going to put the link in the chat, and I'll also put it in the comment section after the video. So I just put the link. Actually, hold up. Let me. I have to open up the link because that one's too long.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see.
Oh, it says required payment to watch.
Hold on, that can't be it. Discover ID.
If you just click on the YouTube one.
Yeah, maybe if I click right here. That's weird. Yeah,
I'll
you're
see
gonna
if I
have
can
to.
send the
Yeah,
link.
you're gonna have to send me the link because it shouldn't come up like that. Oh, let me try one more thing. Discovery. I'm gonna just type in Discovery ID.
Oh, wow.
But Damon, they had his name on there.
Take my name out, maybe.
Yeah, try that one.
Nope.
Yeah. When you get the link, I'll go ahead and post it in the comment section so people can watch the actual interview that you did on the actual show.
Okay.
Because this is way too long. It shouldn't be that long. So I don't know what that is. Probably some kind of spam or something. But yeah, so everybody, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to our first segment of survivors of domestic violence and stalking. And thank you everybody for your likes, for your comments, for your interaction. And Tasha, is there any last thing you want to say or anything at all?
Trust your gut feeling, and always think towards the future. Don't stay in that dark, depressed state, because you're going to miss out on a lot in life if you stay there.
Okay. Awesome. I absolutely agree. And thank you for coming on today. I really, really do appreciate it. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So I'm glad you did. Give me a hug.
Well, thank you for reaching out to me.
Yes.
I appreciate
no
that.
problem at all. Okay, you guys, we're gonna get up out of here and let you go for now. Everybody, again, make sure you share this video out and post it on your community tab, and don't forget to like the video on your way out. Stay safe, be blessed, and I'm out.